My end of the year review for SmackDown. And as you can see, SmackDown has already gone off the air. Shooter is already on right now. But let's be real here. SmackDown did the one thing that Raw could not do on Monday night: make it feel like the end of the year. Like, when it comes to the end of the year, you're going to be a completely new year, completely new time, and you want to start off with a bang. And that's what SmackDown did. And that's why I appreciate SmackDown far more than Raw at this point. Every single match felt like the last, or at least the last of 2016. Every single match actually did have some huge amount of weight to it. The tag team match itself, the first tag team match starting off, really felt like it was worth something. Really felt like that it was something worth fighting for. Yeah, we didn't really see a few people there. We already know that the Rough Riders are pretty, not the Rough Riders, but the Hype Bros are pretty much completely done because Zack Ryder is injured. I don't know what happened to Breezango. I don't even know what happened to the Vaudevillains. Honestly, there was a lot of tag teams that should have been in this match. But even though they were not there, the match still had a lot of weight. It was an amazing match, pay-per-view worthy in my opinion. But I have to say, it's kind of a mixed bag for me. It really is. As much as I absolutely love American Alpha, especially during that NXT run, I have mixed feelings towards it. And mainly because of the treatment towards the Wyatts. Ever since you had, ever since you had, gosh, why my brain go blank? Randy Orton. Ever since you had Randy Orton actually be a part of the Wyatt family, it actually not only gave him momentum and kind of gave him a little bit of more oomph in his wrestling skills, it actually did help the Wyatts out a lot. But the problem is the Wyatts can't really stand on their own because they're booked so badly. But having a vet and someone well known like Randy Orton actually kept him relevant. There's only so much that Bray Wyatt can do to keep his career afloat. I mean, sure, he can have a few losses here and there, and he's able to at least play with the heads of his, I guess, victims, if you'll say. But the problem is, he can't really keep that up for long. If you keep having all these losses and keep looking like fools out in the ring, it's gonna make the people not care. Don't get me wrong, every single time they come out, everybody pulls on the flashlights on their phone. Everybody starts, turning on the lights like fireflies. It does make them interact. I'm not going to lie. His music alone encourages people to interact, which is great. But the problem is that you have to do something with this character to make him a little bit more intimidating. If he's supposed to be the next Undertaker, you got to make him a little bit more intimidating and have him booked well. And they really haven't done anything with the Wyatt family. I have no idea what happened to Eric Rowan. I guess they got rid of Eric Rowan and still have Luke Harper. But the thing is, now that the new Wyatt family, and they call them the new Wyatt family, but even though now the Wyatt family actually did lose the tag team titles tonight, and it was a huge, huge, huge foreshadowing moment with Randy Orton and Luke Harper. And I had a gut feeling that they were going to try to get Randy Orton out because Randy Orton probably doesn't want to be a part of the Wyatt family anymore. He's probably done, and he wants to leave. So he's probably going to be a turncoat, turn against the family, and just dip out. And I'm just like, look, all I want is Bray Wyatt to have a healthy title reign with something to make him look like he is feared. But he hasn't had any of that, and the only title he's ever had in the year and a half he's been on the air, probably maybe longer than that, he has not won a championship on his own, let alone being in a tag team. And now you just have him have the tag team belts only for him to lose it within a few weeks. It's ridiculous. Or maybe close to a month. But other than that, it just wasn't enough. The team wasn't built up enough for anybody to actually care if they lost the titles or not. I love American Alpha, but in my opinion, it was way too early of an execution to have them win without the Wyatts being built up as villains. They didn't really do much for the Wyatt family to have them intimidating enough as villains. The only thing that actually attempted to make them intimidating as villains was the commentary. But the commentary was weak at that. I mean, you can talk about them being evil, but if you don't see them do evil things, how can they be evil? Like, seriously. But other than that, I'm just real bittersweet. I mean, it's like a bittersweet taste in my mouth when it comes to the American Alpha taking the titles. I love them as a tag team, but I just didn't really want them to win now. I kind of wanted them to wait, especially what they've been doing to the Wyatts. But I've talked too much about that. Let's move on to pretty much the talking point of the night. Who is this mysterious luchador that came out during the women's title match? Now, there are two things that have happened, two big WTF OMG moments that actually happened during the women's title match. Number one, Alexa Bliss, as chief as that chick is, broke her arm in the middle of a match. Her arm looked like Jello mold. It looked disgusting, and she just popped her elbow back in the joint and literally went on with the match. Seriously. Oh my gosh, Becky Lynch freaking broke her arm for real. And she just popped it right back in like it was nothing. She dislocated her elbow, popped it in like it was nothing. Like, seriously. And I'm just like, wow. Wow. That chick is tough. She's a tough little pixie. I'm not going to lie. I didn't expect Alexa Bliss to be that tough, but that chick is tough. Don't get me wrong. She's pretty sloppy in the ring. She's amazing as a talker. By every way, shape, or form, she's amazing as a talker, but she's just kind of sloppy in the ring. Like, seriously, she really is. She needs a little bit of work, a little bit more polish, but the fact that she popped her elbow in like it was nothing, that chick is chief. Seriously, she's chief in my eyes. But let's talk about the talking moment of the night. And I know I sound like I'm tongue-tied and dragging on and also other stuff. But other than that, the biggest talking point of the night is who is the masked luchadora. I have looked at the picture multiple times on Twitter, and I came up with two conclusions. Well, there were people that came up with one conclusion, and I came up with another. The first conclusion that other people came up with was Dasha Fuentes from NXT. If you honestly can look at it, Dasha actually does have brown hair. And the chick that actually wore the mask in the back had brown hair. And she was tan. She was not white, people. She was not white by any means. She was a colored individual. Which means she is a woman of color, whether she's Latina or whether she's black. Other than that, she's not white. I'm just going to say that. But other than that, there are two people that are credible to be a luchador, in my opinion. It could be Ember Moon, who has a lot of cred in the wrestling business and who is amazing in the ring. And it could be Dasha Fuentes. I have not seen Dasha perform, but looking at the picture and looking at her eyes and mouth, it looks like it's Dasha. But I could be wrong. It could be Ember because Ember does have brown tips in the back of her head. And that's how I pretty much kind of made that conclusion. It could be Dasha or it could be Ember Moon. It would make more sense for it to be Ember Moon because Ember Moon is more well known in the wrestling business than Dasha Fuentes. At least that's in my opinion. I have no idea who she is. I could be wrong. If you know more about Dasha, leave it in the comments. But other than that, it could be either woman. But honestly, I really do hope that they don't drag this out because this really does not need to be dragged out. This needs to have a crowning moment, probably on a pay-per-view, probably in a rematch or something of the women's title or what have you, and have the reveal on a pay-per-view. Maybe sometime at the Rumble, maybe sometimes before WrestleMania, I don't know. Either the pay-per-view after the Rumble or the pay-per-view before or probably at the Rumble. Like, other than that, it should be either on a paper. Gosh, I'm tongue-tied. It should be either on a Big Four pay-per-view or sometime before WrestleMania. Something around that. I'm just going to say that because I keep getting tongue-tied. But other than that, I do think it's those two women. But let's move on. In my humble opinion, well, we actually do have a funny moment of the night. And it definitely was the fact that Dean Ambrose pretty much cleaned house with those security guards. It's kind of interesting how he didn't really acknowledge that he was with, gosh, I forgot her name. I kind of blanked out for a second. But the fact that he didn't really admit that he was with her was kind of interesting. But I mean, the fact is that you guys are on Total Divas. Like, you can't, Renee Young. Oh, blacked out for a minute. But the fact is, you can't really acknowledge that you're not with Renee Young because, unfortunately, Renee Young is on Total Divas. So we know that you guys are dating. We knew that you guys were dating even before she was on Total Divas, so you might as well come out with it. But I know that every single time that couples do have a segment, they don't last long. So I'm kind of glad that they aren't up in the limelight because I do want them to stay together. I think they're a pretty cute couple, even though I don't really know much about them. But honestly, in my opinion, I'd rather them stay together, so I'm kind of happy that they're out the limelight because it kind of looked like last week that there was some friction between Maurice and The Miz. the fact that the Miz didn't kiss her kind of makes me concerned about what's going on between them. So I'm kind of happy that they're not on screen and they didn't acknowledge that they were dating, that they kind of keep it private because they should. But other than that, let's move on to another pet peeve. Besides Renee Young being a reporter, I cannot stand the post wrestling match report, the post wrestling match interviews. I cannot stand them. I hate them with a passion because it literally takes you out the match. The match should have an amazing finish. It should have an amazing finish. The wrestler should go on to the back and they should move on with the next segment. If they decide to have it in the backstage, like backstage segments, I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. Absolutely. But after a match, it just takes the effect away and it's just ridiculous. Not to mention that the reporters that are actually out there literally ask the dumbest of dumb questions to where I literally just want to throw something at my screen at that person. Seriously, it's annoying. All these dumb questions that these reporters ask is just stupid. I would rather them ask a question that is germane to the storyline and actually get you interested in what their response is going to be instead of these dumb questions that should not be asked at all. I don't know what that chick name is, but I just can't stand her as a reporter. She gets on my last nerve. I don't know whether or not that is Kathy Kelly. I have no idea, but I just know that she is getting on my nerves, and I kind of wish that she would just disappear. Seriously, I really would just wish that she would just go away and only be there during pay-per-views to talk about the pay-per-views or be behind the scenes. I'm fine with that. The actual questions after the after the match and behind the scenes, I'm fine with that, but not after. Not in the ring, not when they're going up the ramp. I want behind the scenes, backstage, that's it. And I'm not going to rant about that anymore. Let's move on to the match of the night, in my opinion. The triple threat match between AJ Styles, Baron Corbin, and Dolph Ziggler. I've already kind of ranted about Dolph Ziggler on Twitter, that I am sick to death of him, and I kind of am. I'm sick to death of Dolph Ziggler being booked as a babyface underdog. We know you're not an underdog, dude. We know that in every match you're in, you're stellar. He was in one of the biggest feuds of his career with his best friend, The Miz. And it's a given that when you're wrestling with your best friend, you're going to have the most amazing matches because you have great chemistry with that person anyway. But we've seen that multiple times. And you actually did win the belt from The Miz. And I know that he did lose it back. But the thing is that we know he has a massive amount of potential. He's been the IC champion as well as being the WWE champion. We know that actually he was a world heavyweight champion. But the thing is that he actually took the IC belt from The Miz. We know this guy has championship potential. We know this. I'm tired of him being booked as a babyface underdog. It's time for that to die. Like, seriously, why does Dolph Ziggler get all these chances just to fail? And he does nothing to get these chances, in my opinion. We know he could put on a stellar match, but if he's lost at least twice or 3 times, why does he keep getting these shots, only to lose? It makes no sense to me. But I will admit this, the match felt like the end of the year match. It felt like that. It felt like it was a lot on the line. It felt like it can go either way. It felt like that. That's what I love. I really do want matches to feel like this. 2016 is nearly done. We only got a few more days to go, and then 2017 is literally right around the corner. And they made it feel like that. I love that. I'm not a big fan of Baron Corbin, but Baron Corbin held his own in this match. I'll give credit where credit is due. The man held his freaking own. It could have went either way. It felt like the Baron Corbin was going to have a massive upset. We had a massive upset with the tag team titles. It could be that way with AJ Styles. So we really didn't know which direction it was going to go, but Baron Corbin made it feel like that he had the potential to take the belt from AJ. I love that. I really did. I absolutely loved that. It was absolutely amazing. And honestly, that was the match of the night. It really was. Besides the talking point of the night of who the luchador is, the match of the night, in my opinion, definitely was the main event. It felt like a main event. And that is what Raw is not doing right. They're not making their main events feel special. SmackDown did. I get a thumbs up. I give them a thumbs up for that. That was amazing. But I know the biggest part of the night that actually was the amazing opener of the entire show was John Cena's return. But we didn't really get the casual Super Cena, hustle, loyalty, and respect will fight against all wrongs and all that stuff like that. Truth, justice, and American way. Cena, we got a heelish version of him. We got a more aggressive, edgier version of him. We got a realistic version of him. And I know that he literally was kind of shouting out at the Smarks because honestly, everybody keeps saying, oh, he's only back to fight Taker. And I'm going to be real with you guys. Why do you keep thinking that Taker is going to come back for another match when the guy is already broken and damaged from the match before? Do you really the guy was at a pay-per-view at Survivor Series after hip surgery with a massive limp. The guy cannot go anymore, and if he does, he will not be able to hold his own, and the match itself is going to have to be held up by whoever his opponent is. You guys can think whatever you want about Taker. Taker cannot go anymore. He can't. I'm sorry. The same thing with freaking Goldberg. And I've already made my rant about him. And I ain't going to do that tonight. But I will say this. Y'all can say whatever you want about Taker. But if Taker's in another match, it's going to be lousy. It's going to be a spot fest after spot fest. But from his opponent. Not from him. And if he does, he's going to barely be able to move. I'm going to say that. If I'm wrong, I stand corrected. But in my humble opinion, the guy can't go no more. Same thing as Triple H. But I'm going to move on to John Cena and stick with that. John Cena had an amazing, aggressive promo tonight, and it made me feel like he's actually going to be a true heel in this match, which he should be. And if he actually does take the belt from AJ in a heelish way, I'm fine with that. If he's a 16-time champ after being a heel from taking it from AJ, I'm fine with that too. Y'all know I'm a fan of the Nature Boy. And y'all know I would love for his record to stand and stand alone. And I wasn't really the best person or the most biggest advocate for him to actually be the 16-time champ or go over Ric Flair's record. I never wanted him to tie or go over Ric Flair's record. But if he does it in this way, if he's a heel going in and a heel coming out, I'm fine with that. I'm okay with him taking the belt to Mania because he should. John Cena should have his last hurrah at 2017 as the champ, as a heel. The one thing that every fan has wanted for years, we're going to get at WrestleMania 33. I'll be straight if he takes the belt from AJ at Royal Rumble. I'll be fine with it. Seriously, I really would be. Because that little moment that we saw at the beginning as well as the moment at the end shows me that SmackDown knows what they're doing and Raw really needs to work on that. They need to actually take some tips from SmackDown because SmackDown is beating them at this point. But y'all, I have said enough about this show. I want to hear your thoughts about this. Leave a comment in the comment section below how you personally feel about the show and what do you think it should change. And if you honestly felt like this was the last SmackDown of 2016, because I feel like it was. They did an amazing job. I had so much fun watching it. I did not fall asleep, and that shows how great this show is. That's just me. I want to hear your thoughts. Leave in the comments below. I am done here. Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out. Later.